All right, hey, let's welcome Ari Hertz to the RTG podcast for an exclusive course preview of TPC Southwind. Ari, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hear you are in between golf trips, and you and Jordan just met like a week or two ago as you were in Michigan. And you guys know each other?
Yeah, we knew each other from Chicago. I just didn't
Okay.
put two and two together that he was a member at TPC Southwinds.
Ah, gotcha.
Yes.
Well, first of all, give me a nugget. Give me a nugget. What'd you guys learn in Michigan about each other?
Well, I'll go first. I'll say I learned that Jordan's handicap should be lower. That's what I
learned.
True.
I did play out of my ass. My golf game's coming around nicely, and I won a few dollars off of Ari, even though my best round we didn't bet on. So, out there.
This is Ari. I've played plenty of events with Jordan, and I've always really enjoyed where his handicap is because he can nuke the golf ball and has no problem shooting a 75, but carries a solid 8 to 10 handicap. What more do you want out of a partner?
I mean, as a partner, I agree. I'll give you another one I learned, that he should switch back to the blade putter because the mallet isn't helping.
Ooh, is that why we had all those, he keeps texting me, 37, 45, 38, 42.
I was all over the place. I will say these courses lended themselves to my game where I could just freaking blast my driver all over the place and not get too hurt. The two courses we played that were the narrowest were Arcadia Bluffs and Forest Dunes, which, shocker, were my two highest scores. All the link style ones that had huge fairways, I could just mash the ball down there, chip up, get myself a birdie.
It actually makes a perfect segue for the topic tonight because we said, Jordan, why don't you come to Southwind and we'll see what your score is going to be after blasting the driver all over the place. So it's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about.
Well, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about TPC Southwind because I think I don't have a ton of familiarity with the course. Obviously, the PGA Tour's been there a bunch, but Ari, how long have you been a member out there?
Yeah, I've been a member out there for about 5.5 years. The course is great. It's always in great shape. We seem to undergo a sort of a 2-hole renovation each year, so it's changed a little over the years. Honestly, I think they've made it a little easier, but the course is always in great shape. Really more of a ball striker's course than anything. Like, you got to be hitting your approach shots well, and you got to be in position to hit those approach shots well. But the golf course is great. The greens are great. It really is a pleasure to play each week, to be honest with you.
So is it pretty fun to play as a member, or is it tough?
It depends how you're playing, to be honest with you. So I'm a 5 index, and for my game, if I'm hitting the ball off the tee well and in position to hit good approach shots, it's a blast, and it really comes down to those approach shots. But you get a little wayward off the tee, it's pretty hard to see yourself making a good score on that hole because the recoveries are not easy. You blast it even 10 yards offline off the tee, you're blocked by 647 trees between you and the green. So it's, kind of a punch out, get up and down if you can type of thing. So it's a good mix. Definitely a couple easy holes, definitely a couple very challenging holes. And I would say each hole has its own set of trouble, which I do think is a little unique for the course because a lot of other TPC courses I play, you've got a few famous holes and all that kind of stuff, but there are always like a few throwaway holes with no trouble. I feel like at least 16, if not 17 or 18 of our holes all have some form of trouble, which makes it a little more interesting.
That's probably why people really like Will Zalatoris this week, and he's obviously been playing pretty good, but they like him, and certainly courses like that demand a lot of good iron play suit his game very well.
That suits my game too, Mike.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We're not talking about you, Jordan. Come on. No, I love someone like Zalatoris, to be honest with you. I mean, I think Zalatoris is great, really, on a lot of courses, just because he's so consistent. And if you could trust his putting, that's a whole different conversation.
Well, right.
but yeah, someone like him who his, band of variation is much narrower will have, I think, a big advantage this week. It's not super long where you have to be a bomber. I mean, DJ won a few years ago and just completely destroyed the golf course and hit drives to places that when I play those tour tees and I hit my drive, like I can't even see the places that he was hitting the ball to. But, and it's like there are a few that I just don't understand the physics of how the ball got to where it got to. But
last year, Abe Answer won, though, right? So certainly someone who can keep it in play and hit the ball well can do well here.
Yeah, and I actually think statistically speaking, that's your better value, right? Someone like him, like even Justin Thomas, when he won, like it was about control of the golf ball, not overpowering the golf course. DJ just was hot and could play straight and long, but it's really about the control more than the distance, I think, at the course. But the big variable in my mind, especially, first year as a playoff event, is what are they going to do with the rough? I'll tell you, like some years in the tournament, especially when it was a non-WGC about 3-4 years ago, the members were playing the rough much longer because they let it grow out and then they would cut it all the way down for the event. And then, there were some years they sort of let it be long for the event. So I think that's kind of the big variable of how penal will the rough be this year as its first year as a playoff event. And honestly, I have no real insight to that. I haven't really walked the course in a couple of weeks. I know it was pretty long a couple of weeks ago when we played it, but it could be anything now. So I think that's really the big variable.
What should viewers on TV look for that maybe they wouldn't notice otherwise? That's something that I think is always fun we thought about that with the 3M here in the Twin Cities. Like once I was out at the course, then when I went home and watched it, I was like, oh, that elevation change is a lot higher than it seems on TV, or that green is a lot more undulated. Like, what would you say about the golf course that maybe you can't pick up from TV?
Yeah, so I actually think more of the nuances are on the front nine, which, if you watch this weekend, you'll see there's almost no infrastructure built on the front nine. There's a ton on the back nine, but on the front, you've got, the seventh hole, which is a very long par 4 from the back. And left side, there's kind of a bunker that cuts it into the fairway where they would hit their tee shots. And on the right side, there's this very large overhanging tree about 40 yards in front of the green, where if the pin is on the right half of that green and you're on the right side of that fairway, depending on exactly how far up or back your ball is, that tree actually is a major issue for the approach shots. But on TV, you never really can appreciate the angles that you have to play on some of these long par 4s to get in position to attack the pin. Because, look, if that's a right side pin and you're in the right side of that fairway, you're really aiming for center or left center of the green and just saying, I'm going to 2-putt and make my way off this hole. Where if you can hug the left side of the fairway and avoid that bunker, and some of them might be able to hit past the bunker, but it's really close to being in play, you have a significantly greater chance of having a good approach shot there. So there are a lot of nuances like that on the front nine that I think are really interesting when you're there physically, that it's hard to sort of capture on TV. The back nine, it's straightforward visually is what I would say. There's a ton of water. I think we had the most water balls.
It's the TPC course, so it has to.
Yeah. The back nine, it's a ton of water. 17 is very, very long. 16 is kind of a shortish par 5 that honestly, when you're watching, you kind of get it because you drive it all the way up the hill. Like what you do lose is the tee is well sort of below the level of the fairway. Sure. So it's a very sort of uphill tee shot. But once you get up there, it's kind of straightforward. So there's not as much nuance on the back. It's visually kind of what you see is what you get. But on the front, there are a couple holes like 7. On 3, which is a par 5, where over the last 3 years, they took out trees that used to block your line to the green if you were in the right half of the fairway. So it's much more tempting to go for it in 2. It's not worth it. But I mean, even for the pros, the risk is too high. There's water all the way up the right and trouble all the way down the left. But the pros that go for it, I'm sure the stats are very bad for them because that's one of the worst risk reward holes. But it's so tempting now when they took these trees out because it's reachable for everyone. But it's not worth the temptation for anyone. So I'm actually interested to watch that. I don't know how much coverage that third hole is going to get, but those nuances on the front nine, that's not really in the juice of the TV coverage. So we'll see how it looks.
Yeah, good point.
Ari, you talked a little bit when we were out on the course about there's at least one green where everyone reads every putt wrong. Right? What was it? When we
Seven.
well, it was 7. Okay.
It was, oh man. Oh, so we have green books. A couple of my buddies and I that play every week. And we were all like looking at the green, but we're like, we know that's going to go that way. And they always underread it. But 7 is one they always read, especially the back half of the green on 7. They always read it wrong. It's honestly hilarious to watch. But yeah, seven's a tough one. And then 8, when they redid it, it's a short-ish par 3. The members were complaining it was too hard because it was a very wide but narrow green, and the older guys can't flight it high to sort of stop it. And so they redid it, and it doesn't look like any other hole on the course. But that hole seems to break opposite when you're going up the hill, and so I would say 7 and 8 are probably the 2 hardest reads on the course.
Good. Those are good takes. Are you going to be out at the event this weekend?
I am. I've got a round I'm playing somewhere else on Thursday, so I'm not going to go Thursday, but it looks like I'll probably go Friday, Saturday. The one thing about being at a golf event is I feel like you don't actually get to like feel the momentum building the same way as when you can feel more shots. So, Sunday I like to be at home and kind of take it in, but I was looking at the tee times. I don't know if you guys saw the draw, but to me, it feels like the late early is where all the fun is. And I was hoping to go like Friday midday and all the fun would be the early late matchup, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So it looks like I might be waking up early on Friday and heading out there.
Yeah, a field like this, I mean, there's names up and down. I just really appreciate getting up close to tour players in general and just listening to them hit pure iron shots. I almost don't even care who's swinging it. Like, it's just a sound I'm not used to hearing.
I agree. I actually was very fortunate earlier this year to play in a Pro-Am for the Honda, and played with Kevin Streeland and Bill Hoffler. Like, they were super nice, and it was really fun to play with them, giving us reads, giving us tips, giving us club selection, coaching, all that kind of stuff. But just standing next to them when they hit the ball, it's just a very different sound than when I hit the ball. And when Jordan hits the ball or when you hit the ball, it's just strange to me how different it can feel and sound when you're right next to it. But
that's what I think people, that's what I think people kind of lose on. You probably, I'm sure, have members at TPC that are well into the plus handicaps, and people are like, well, why aren't you teeing it up this weekend and all that? And I just don't think people really understand the gap between your club scratches and even a Corn Ferry Tour player. It's crazy how pure these guys hit it.
I would go even 2 levels lower, right? Like even people in Corn Ferry Q School, or the people that are, even like big money tour before it collapsed. Like, it's a whole different game that there's probably 2,000 people between us and them that are never known to anybody, and no one ever thinks their game is relevant. And, our club champion from last year, he probably shot, probably 2 under one day and 1 over the second day, like something like that for our two-day aggregate. Like, I hope he becomes good. He's this young guy who, he's still in college and all that, but like, odds are like that person becomes nothing. Like, I can never hit it like that person or even close to him, right? So that's just like a random nobody that like no one will ever hear of, who's like a great guy and a great golfer, but there are thousands of those all over the place. It's really incredible.
But Ari, you're in the championship flight this year in your club championship. So
I am. Minor miracle. Yeah, definitely a minor miracle. They changed the format this year. 1 round, pure stroke play, and then you advance top 8 to a match play bracket. And look, I can muster 1 good round on a given day, and I said I'm going to go for the gross championship flight this year because, look, 2-day aggregate against these guys, there's no chance. Like, they're shooting 67, 67. Like, when I play the tips, if I shoot 79, I'm like setting off the fireworks, right? And so, it's rated, the slope rating is like 151 from back there. Like, I'm ecstatic. So, but 1 round on a good day, you get the right sleep or eat the right breakfast. You never know. So I was like, I'm going to go for it this year. So the top 8 advance, I advanced as number 8 with an 80. The course was playing so tough. Rough, long, pins in the worst spots. Greens were lightning fast. So I actually advanced as number 8 with an 80 in a scorecard tiebreaker with a guy who has like a scratch index. It was just playing tough that day. I was pretty proud of myself. I think I doubled the first hole. I tripled the third hole.
Oh my
And then
God.
I 3-putt bogey from like 10 feet on the fourth hole. And I like gave myself a little pep talk walking off, and I played like the rest of the 14 holes on like +2 or something. So I felt pretty good about like grinding it out, but I was shocked I made it through. So 2 weeks after the tournament is when I'll get blown out in my first match by some like +5 handicap in a match. But maybe he sleeps wrong, and who knows? But yeah, it was worth a shot.
I love that attitude. Anything can happen in match play. It's one hole at a time. You had the right mental approach, and I think anything can happen. On this week, do you have a pick? Do you have a tour pro in mind that you'd like to see win the first round here, the first round of the playoffs?
So look, I'll give you my heart pick. I love Theegala. I mean, I think he's a great dude. I think he deserved to win at the Waste Management. I don't even think that was a bad shot. Like you can say at the Travelers that was a bad shot from the sand there. At the Waste Management, I don't even think it was a bad shot. I've hit that shot 15 times. You get a bad bounce and you're screwed. And you could say like maybe he should have laid back, but I love him. I think he's a good ball striker. Kind of been shaky the last few weeks, so I don't think he's going to get it done. But I'm sure his odds are a bajillion to 1, and I think there's someone like that.
I highlighted him for Kyle. Yeah, he came out at 130 to 1. I thought that was a really juicy number for him.
130 to 1. Oh my goodness. I mean,
yeah.
There are only 125 players in the field. Just think about the odds, like mathematically on that. You're basically saying like he's so far below average that I mean, look, I don't think he's going to do it. I want to be clear, and I actually think like golf betting on not top 10s, like just betting on the winner, is virtually impossible because like the people who win are like these random. I'm ranked 57th in the world, and like I just happen to. So I think it's tough, but I do think it's a ball striker's course. I think the people that are in position off the tee to be able to hit a good shot are the ones that are going to get the strokes gained sort of on the approach shot, because I think when you look at that like in an encapsulation of itself, like you're missing the fact that the tee shot has to be in play to be able to get that advantage. So I don't know. Yeah, ball striker's course. Like I wish Rory could get it done more often. When Tiger's not playing, Rory's my guy, and he's hot right now, and I would love to see him come down here and win. A couple of years ago he was kind of there, but we'll see. I don't know. I just hope it's a good tournament, and I'm really interested to see what they do with the rough. And I'm also not of the opinion that like low winning score or high winning score matters. I just want it to be close and competitive and entertaining. So I'm not a huge pick guy, but I think that's the style of play that wins.
Cool.
Nice.
All right.
Ari, is your flight at 10?
Yeah. So
okay.
Well, I don't know what time zone you're in. No. My flight's at 10:45 Eastern, so I probably got to my way over the gate. I'm like hidden in the work corral area of the Charlotte lounge here, so just trying to hide. But anything else I can provide for you guys of useless anecdotes or anything?
Only last item is, we usually talk about what beers we're drinking. I'm assuming you're not drinking a beer, but I would bet money that you've got a cocktail in your hand. So what's your drink of choice in the lounge?
I've got a nice little vodka soda here. I actually started with a glass of wine, but it was terrible, so I switched over to the vodka soda. But I went from needing a dead sprint in the airport because I wanted to get on these earlier flights to make my connection to completely screwed, and I'm actually like double booked now on all the flights because they don't know which one's going to leave. So it could be a long night, but as long as I get home at some point, I'll be happy.
Nice. And I'm assuming that's a double vodka. Also, if I know my Ari correctly.
Hey, you order it, you give him the tip on the free drink. It usually tastes a little bit better. That's all I'm saying.
Awesome. Well, Ari, thanks for giving us some of your time while you're at the airport. I hope to use this knowledge to my advantage as I make my picks this week. This was really good stuff, man.
And hey, I appreciate you having me, and I can't wait till you guys rake me over the coals if all my picks are wrong come the end of the weekend. So I look forward to the follow-up.
No, I appreciate it, man. Good to meet you.
Have a good night, guys. See you guys. Bye.